Hey everybody, it's Matthew. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute since we've done a regular old Matt's Musings, talk at the camera kind of topic thing. So this week I thought we were due for one, and today we're going to talk about the stigma behind making negative or sad and depressing music. Now, it's no secret that our society hasn't always been the best at dealing with things like depression, being sad, general just mental feelings of malaise and those type of things. Because when people feel down, they're often met with the, what do you have to be sad about? Everything's fine. You know, you should be happy with what you have and all that kind of talk. But that typically doesn't serve the person well and makes them feel guilty for feelings that are kind of out of their control. And when everyone's giving you that kind of feedback, it can be really hard to process those kind of feelings. And you can feel really alone and think that nobody else around you understands what you're going through or how you feel. And very often, in times like that, we turn to other things to help us cope. You know, maybe we like to read a book, maybe you like playing games, maybe you like listening to music, and that is, of course, the sticking point today is the music. And then, of course, you browse through music and those kind of things, and maybe you settle on some stuff that is sad or that's also depressing when you're in that same kind of state. A lot of people don't necessarily understand the idea of listening to that type of music when you're in the same headspace, but oftentimes it can actually make you feel better. And that usually makes you feel better because of the concept of mental catharsis, which is a particular experience that sort of releases your emotions, particularly negative ones, out of your mind so they can stop being clouded and you can get on with your life. That's usually the idea that that type of music focuses on, is that idea of using those negative emotions to create a moment of catharsis when you feel the same way, and then you have a shared experience with that, and it makes you feel much better. It's really not a difficult concept to understand, which is why I don't always get why some people can sometimes be critical of that idea. It's usually people from older generations. I mean, some of that does depend on what you grew up on. In the case of Gen X, they could kind of be either way about that kind of stuff. But it's that concept of a shared experience with the artist that can help you out. Instead of mindlessly listening to music just for the purposes of entertaining yourself, it's using that creative material in a way to benefit yourself positively and to make yourself feel better by consuming the art probably in the way that the artist intended for it to be consumed, and not just as a pure form of entertainment. The reason I'm bringing this concept up now is because of my own ideas with writing and the things that I want to do. As I've mentioned, I am working on a song right now that deals with a very specific issue with our society, and it's the idea of us being so caught up in this whole technologically driven world and social media and feeling like everything's coming at us all at once, and how it's so hard for us to break out of that cycle of continually being consumed by media. And that's kind of a negative concept. I've also got other things that are in more of a neurotic space as well that I'm working on, and that ends up being a lot of my perspective with songwriting. And this isn't only about why listening to depressing music can be a good thing, but it's also about why does the artist write music that fits that criteria. And my theory is that more introspective individuals tend to be more creative. They tend to seek out ways in which to process their own internal emotions. And of course, one of those ways to do that is through music. And if you're feeling bad about something or something bothers you or whatever type of mental things that could be going on with that, it can sometimes be helpful to write it down and get it out of the system, as it were, in the form of, you know, singing or guitar or whatever kind of instrument that it comes out as, because that is a more introspective person's way of dealing with those emotions. It's not always seeking out other things to find that synergy and that moment of catharsis, but it's getting that moment of catharsis out of something that you create and you put those emotions into. And it's kind of what we talked about before. It's a different type of catharsis because we're not relying on a shared experience, but it's a catharsis of just getting the ideas out of the mind and into something else. So it's not occupying your headspace. And that's why that happens a lot, is getting the negative stuff out means it's not always occupying your mind, and that can make you feel a lot better in the long run. So we end up with music that reflects that type of mindset, and then we end up with people listening to it that have a shared experience, that also experience the same moment of catharsis that the artist felt when they created the song. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship where the artist makes the music to make themselves feel better, and you being in a similar headspace, go and seek that music out and listen to it, and then you feel better, and then everybody wins. And that's kind of the stigma I want to break, is the idea that some people, they judge others for writing that kind of music or listening to that kind of music. And it's usually because they just don't consume things in that way. They're looking more for entertainment. They aren't looking for something to make themselves feel better or process their emotions, And that ignorance is what, of course, leads to judgment in a lot of cases. But if they had that moment of catharsis, then they would understand why music like that exists and why people continue to crave it. And I've personally dealt with being judged for the type of music that I listen to, or being judged for the type of lyrics that I've written, which are unpublished at this moment. They will, of course, see the light of day eventually. But the point is, I understand what that is like. And sometimes it doesn't feel good to be judged for listening to something that does make you feel happy in a way and that you enjoy. Nobody usually likes that. But you have to have patience with people. Maybe they just don't understand why. Maybe they need an explanation as to why you feel that way or why you enjoy that music. So as long as there continue to be depressed people or people that have a negative emotion about something or feel a certain way about something and they need to get that out, there's always going to be music like that, and there's always going to be another person that feels that way, that listens to that music, and then they feel better too. People need to understand that, is that there's music for every type of person that makes every type of person feel better. Sometimes it's more positive and joyful music. Sometimes people feel those emotions so strongly that they feel the need to make a song about that as well. There is an infinite amount of reasons why somebody could write a song and why somebody could listen to it. But we need all kinds of music, and we need them all to exist harmoniously, because there's all kinds of people out there, and even each individual person is feeling a different way every single day. So it's important for us to have music that is for any occasion, any situation, any person, without the judgment of its subject matter. Unless it's something completely insane that we agree in society is terrible, but those are few and far between. So anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video about trying to break the stigma of neurotic music and why it's important to have it around despite its negative nature. So anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this discussion on breaking the stigma of more neurotic music and why it's important for all of us to continue to have that kind of music around, and for the rest of the world not to judge so harshly maybe when they encounter that type of music and they're not familiar with it. And of course, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Don't forget to click the bell so that you know when a new video is going to be out on the channel. And with that, I will see you guys next time in another video. Have a good one.